Hello everyone. In our today's video, I'm gonna show you how you can create this beautiful e-commerce website using Next.js and so many other up-to-date technologies. So first, let's just reveal what we have. We have a Navbar here with a particular logo. Then we have all the categories that are rendered here, and we have another portion where we can see the wish list, we can see the card, and also we have that login button. So just let's go in the categories. If you go to the phone section, you see it will only available all the phones, and you can see the results. We have 20 phones available here. If we go back to the watches, you see the results is coming and all the watches is rendering here. Now how actually we can view that? If you want to go and see any particular product, you need to just click on that product and it's gonna give you a page which gonna render with the particular ID, and you see that page is rendered here, and you can add to cart from here also. And after adding the cart, you see the number plate is coming, so you can just make it a more, and also like if you just reduce, you see you cannot decrease below 1, so the message is available here, so you cannot delete it from here. So now let's go back to home and try to add some more products. And by the way, you can also put it in your wish list. If you click, you see added iPhone 14 added to the wish list or in the favorites, so that you can pass the message, and you see once you remove, it will remove from the wish list and it will give you the Toastify message, and also the icon it will change. So we can do that here, and let's also add in the cart some of the items. Okay, let's go back to the watches. So we will add some of the watches from here, and also we can watch from the wish list. Now we have the products, right? So now we want to see our cart. Let's go to the cart, and you see it will not give you a blink about the card because you need to go through the login. If you're not logged in, you can't see the card, even your wish list. No, it will not give you that permission because all the users should be rendered through that particular portion. Only then a person can be able, if you're logged in, then you will be able to see the card, and also you'll be able to see your wish list, because you can also then get your payment. And this all the data is I'm getting from the JSON server. And you see this is a very tiny bit of platform here. If you see, if you want to render all the products, that's all the products is here. Now also you can products through just render a single products with your ID, and also you can go through the category, right? If you want to take category of just watches, okay, I believe maybe it's watch. Okay, nothing. Was it wrong? Or maybe we just misspell it. Maybe just a single watch. Okay, here we can see all the watches data is available. So that's the place where we are getting all the data. This is for all data, and this is for the category based data. So don't worry about that, because I'm gonna give the data in also the folder in the API section. If you want to use your own API, you can use the data to create. So now let's go and start to create the login. So let's start login, and we are using the Next.auth login, and there is it's an Auth login authentication. We have signed in with a GitHub, Google, and I'm gonna show you how you can actually go and customize all of that and can create the login authentication. So first and forward, I'll go with the GitHub, and after you click, it's gonna give you a pop-up asking the permission from the GitHub, as I did it before and earlier. So I have the permission. Now there is my profile. There is no more login. I can see my profile, right? It's my profile here. So now if I try to go to the wish list, you see it will take me to the wish list. Now what actually I can do in the wish list, I can view all the wish list products. I can delete a single product from here, and also I can add that product to the cart from here, right? And also what I can do, I can reset the wish list, and you see that a pop-up is coming from the window, so I can reset all together. And after I reset, it's just redirecting me to the home page. You can view it again because there is nothing to have shopping, so it's just redirecting me back to the home page. So let's go back to the cart. It's the similar setup of that wish list, but here is a bit of different. You have the picture, you have title, you have the price, and you can go with to increase the valuation, increase the quantity here. Like I want to add more products, you see I increase the quantity and the price is changed, and also the Toastify message is just coming, the iPhone 15 quantity added. You can also delete the quantity, and you know the message after, you cannot delete more than one, but you can delete from here all the products. And now also you can receipt the card, and in the total summary section you can get the total items over here and the price and how much discount you get, and after the discount how much you need to pay. So that's the amount we need to pay in our total price, right? And also one more thing you can do, you can receipt your entire card, and after receipting you see nothing in the card and it will redirect to the home page. So let's add more of the product in the card because we want to create a checkout to see how actually is going to happen with that Stripe.js. Now this is the Stripe here. My last payment it was 4051. So I'm gonna create that another instances of checkout. So let's add more products. So I have total 11 products, and inside the 11 products let's increase some of the more, you see. Okay, now I have 15,133.46 to pay, right? So to implement that payment checkout, because this button is, it will just take me to the gateway for the Stripe payment checkout. So let's click, and as soon as you clicked, it gonna redirecting to you to the payment integration for the Stripe payment. And of course we are using the free version. You can use the, if you are actually going to the production level, you can use the paid version and you can get some more beautiful feature from the Stripe. You can see all the items is available here, right? So now let's pay, and I will go with the default one, which is 4242 for the Stripe payment, the default card. And you need to just give a valid month and also a valid date, just higher from this year, and 123 will be the CVC number. And now you need to put your name. Okay, I'll put my name and let's pay. So what's gonna happen after the payment is done? After the payment is done, it's gonna create that payment instances, and then it will redirect to you to your the success pages, right? And also you see your card is empty now because you create that. So now you can actually get that order in your what you call that in your database or somewhere. Is up to you how you prefer. So what's happened is our payment is done. It's not showing here, so let's reload that one. And after reloading, you may see that 15,133.46 is already payment is done as a success is happened. So let's see the details here. And we can now go individually all the details. We have our item and we have all the details here, how we pay, and also the country origin IP, because the country is getting from the IP, so it's I think the same from my IP. So now this is how actually we're gonna do that. And now to create that application, what the things you need to learn, what the things you need to have. First and for all, you need to have that Node.js installed in your local machine. So this is the LTS version for Windows, and whenever and which platform you're using, it will show you that recommended one. So try to use the recommended one with the long-term service stability, that LTS version. And also you need to understand the Next.js a bit, because we are going to use that Next.js to create our entire application. And also we're gonna use now these two things is fundamental. And now what's the other things you're gonna learn from this video? You're gonna learn how to create authentication using that Next.js. And also we're going to use that Redux Toolkit to create our store. So it's gonna be a very good things to learn the store management with Redux. And we will, to create that beautiful design, we're gonna use that Tailwind CSS. So it's a very good utility platform to use that CSS style. And also we're gonna use that framer motion to create the motion, and also you're gonna use that React Slick to create that our beautiful slider over here that we're gonna create with that React Slick. So that's for all. I believe it if you even doesn't matter if you are a beginner or you are in the advanced, both can be helpful. It can be helpful for both of them if you are going with me to create this beautiful application. So let's start. And to go with that, I already have an empty folder here. So you need to also take an empty folder, and now inside that folder I will open my terminal. So now here I will run my command. So if you're using that npm, feel free to go with the npm. I'm using the pnpm, it's same like the yarn command. So I'm gonna make that pnpm, and it will be create, and that will be next app at latest. And let's give the name of Amazon Pro or I will just put that next Amazon YT. Just you can give any of the name, just I'm giving that name. Okay, you see that nothing is happening because maybe I misspelled with the comment. So now if you're using the npm, you can just go with that here, this command you need to copy, and then just you need to paste that command here, and it will gonna install everything for you. And now what I'm gonna do, I think I need to make a space for pnpm to take the action. So let's try pnpm create next app latest. Okay, so now it depends on you, doesn't matter whatever the platform you choose to use. Okay, now it's asking to give the name. I can actually pass the name here, or I will just write the name. So it will be next Amazon. I don't know why I keep that as Amazon. You can keep any the name of you want. So the TypeScript, I want to use the TypeScript. slint will be there, and you see the configuration for the Tailwind CSS in with the Next.js is very simple. It will auto configure whatever the necessary. So okay, source directory, yes, it looks my like code is clean, and also the app browser, yes, and no aliases. So now it's gonna install all the dependencies to run our application. Just give a bit of time to let it work. As you see, everything is installed, so now we can actually start working. If we put ls, we can see our project is here. So let's go inside that project and see the Amazon I think next Amazon YT. Okay, so if we put ls, we can see so many things already installed, and if we go back to our folder, you can see. So now what you can do from here, either you can open that one in your code from here, and what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna just put a code dot, and I'm using that Visual Studio Code, so it's gonna open inside my code. As you see, it's opened here. So now first we need to clean up our application to see what actually is carried. So now if we just expand here, we have node modules to start all the running the necessary modules. We have a public folder, and also we have a source folder. Inside the source folder, we have an icon, we have global CSS to combine all the CSS, we have layout.tsx and page.tsx, and this is in the root folder to configuring with the Tailwind CSS config file to configure all the necessary items for the Tailwind. And we have that readme pnpm log, and this is very important one, that package.json. All the packages listed is here, and also we have that next config.js. So now what we're gonna do, first thing first, we need to run our application, and to run that we need to run one single command, which is npm run dev. So what this command will do, it's gonna start our application in the local host. As you see, because my another application is running, so it's showing me that localhost 3001. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna close my previous application because I don't want to hang my device. So what I'm gonna do is that npm run dev again to run it in the localhost 3000. So also I'm gonna close this one and put that localhost 3000. It's gonna run my new application here. So now after your initial status, whenever you are rendering, everything gonna coming from here. So whatever you see in the localhost 3000 is going to be rendered from here. Okay, there is something is going on. Okay, that's the application. So now first thing first, because that's the default behavior, the default application pattern whenever you are installing Next.js application with that create next app. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna clean up our application. So I will select that main, whatever is inside the main tag, I'm gonna delete that. I'll take a new main tag, and let's put an h1. This will be new e-commerce website. Okay, let's save, and you see, but this background and every other things, did we put it there? No, it's just happening to be in the default behavior in the global CSS on the root. So what I'm gonna do from here, I'm gonna just select all and remove everything. And now you can see you have a clean application. I'll just make it smaller. So we have now a clean application, and we can start building our application from this on. Okay, so before starting further, let's just trying to understand our design pattern. As you see, this is our application. So first, how we gonna start? first we're gonna have a navbar, right? This navbar gonna be applicable in overall all the pages. Then also you're gonna have a footer which gonna also be appear in all the pages. Now in the navbar we have a logo, so this will be in a div. Then inside another div we have a separate things which are gonna be our like the navigation portion, and this is actually giving us that logging and other authentication period. So these three separate div gonna be inside a single div, and this the parent div it gonna take the full width, because our important the div one it will be getting a max width, right? So this we are going to create right now. So and also our this navbar gonna be applicable for all the pages. Like if we go to visit the watches and other pages, you see the same navigation bar it gonna be appearing. So we're gonna create that. So to create this navbar here, what we're gonna do, and as we have that source folder, so first thing first we need to create another so let's just make some file. So the folder. So first it will be components one, it's gonna be components, and inside the components we'll create the folder whenever we actually need it. So now we're gonna keep it as navbar. You can keep it as header or some others, doesn't matter, it will serve the same purpose. So now we'll run that command rafce to create the React Native snippet. But what about if we don't use that rafce, you want to get it from the beginning? So let's just const and navbar, because you need to run a function. In components everything is a function, and give the functional parameter, and now this function is gonna return something. And what it's gonna return, it's gonna return a div. Inside the div we're gonna pass an h2, and it's gonna give us the header. And in the React applications, once you have a particular components, you need to export something as default. So let's export, and it's gonna be as the default, and we're gonna export our navbar. So now our navbar is ready. Where we gonna inject? We can inject here right now, but if we inject here in every, because this is our parent page, it will be available in the parent page, but whenever we're gonna create the sub pages, it will not be available there. And for that instances, what we're gonna do, we're gonna keep that one is in the layout, because our old applications is gonna render it from here. So after or before that children, you see that everything is passing here as the children. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna call our navbar here, and you need to import it. As you see, it's already auto imported, so you need to import it from our navbar, from the components. As we saved, you see our navbar is ready. So now we can access the navbar. So now let's start to design that navbar in a way actually which we need it. So first we have a div. So in the top level of the div, now these things I can go slowly structure by structure, and it's gonna be a very long video. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna go a very solid way so that you can understand it very quickly, right? So before going a bit of further, what I will do, one more thing. In the source folder, I will take all the assets from my previous project. So this is the assets here. So this assets contains all the properties which I'm gonna use. So now inside that assets also, I want to do one more thing in the layout, is that let's go back to the Tailwind CSS. Okay, in the Tailwind CSS we need to configure so many things. So in the top of the things, just give me a second. Or not in that we can actually work on the config later on, because what actually I want to give a background here, and to implement that background, let's go to the global CSS, and I'm gonna just get that as, because I want it to be giving with all the properties. So in the BG design, I'm gonna just give a background image. Oops, it will not the backdrop, it will be background image, and that background image, so don't worry, that URL it will be available in the description, and also all the images, and don't worry about at all, because everything gonna be in a repo, and that repo link it will be given to you. So what actually it gonna give to us, if we just go through it, it gonna give us a 64-bit image to give a very beautiful background here. As you see, that is not the actual white, there's a background is going on. So we're gonna implement that background. So this BG design, actually now we can adopt in our layout. So what I'm gonna do in the body, so where we keep the body, we can actually go through, give some class name, and then but actually now we cannot do it because see, this class names is available with the inter font family. So what we need to do, we're gonna create a utility classes, right? So let's take another folder and I'm gonna give a name of as a lib, and now here I will create a folder called utils.ts. so there will be my utility function is there. So let's go to the npm because we are going to create we're gonna get another library from there, a tiny bit of library, and first one it will be CLSX. So this is actually giving a much more method, a tiny package, but a very useful whenever you are using it with that Tailwind CSS. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna just copy that name and let's go back to my project, and this is one is running. So I will take another terminal, either git bash or anything you prefer. So I'm gonna just npm add and that command, and this will be one, and there will be another tiny one which gonna be a Tailwind merge. So with that together we're gonna create a utility class by which we'll be able to inject the conditional style and other things in any line actually. So this is a very fundamental things to use with the Tailwind CSS. So also let's just try to take another terminal and also npm add Tailwind merge. So just give it time because my net I think a bit slower, so it gonna just install these two dependencies. So both have been installed, so now we can we'll be able to create the utility class. So now what actually we can do, we're gonna make an export a function, and that function we're gonna give a name as cn. You can give any other name, but that's the procedurable way. So what I will do more is that I'm gonna take everything from the inputs, and that inputs gonna take a class value. I think yeah, class name value is coming with that, but it should not be. So I'm gonna manually import that first. So it's gonna be import, and that actually gonna be the type, and that type it will be a class value. Okay, I think the class value and CLSX and this both gonna come from CLSX. Okay, that's actually installed. Why it's not showing? And that I'm also gonna import that TW merge from that Tailwind merge. So now I have the class value. I think now it will be available. So the input, that type it gonna be that class value, and by default it gonna be an empty array. So what actually we are going to do with running that function, now what actually we're gonna return that TW merge, and inside that merge we're gonna just put that CLSX and all the inputs. Now if I'm going to explain that, it will just go out of the head. So whenever we're gonna implement that time you can understand it's much more a broader way. So now we need to implement it somewhere, right? What's the first is that our layout. So here, because we cannot inject any other class name because we already have an existing class name, right? So now how actually we can manipulate that? So keep that one. Okay, so I'm just gonna copy this one to just keep for a safekeeping, and now inside that I'm gonna import my function and formula. You see the lib and utils, so that's already imported in the top. Don't forget to import whenever you're using anything. So now I'm gonna write that utility function. So I'm gonna just give the min height of a screen, so the project min height will be screen, and the font it gonna be sans, and like just or utilized. Okay, and now I need to give that bg. So I think I keep the name as design, right? So let's go to the global css. Yeah, it's a bg design. So let's try to implement that. Okay, and as we did, any changes? Okay, I think some changes maybe. No, nothing. Okay, let's just try again. Or it will not be bg, because remember we are just injecting a class name, right? So it will be bg design initially. As you see, that's actually a background. You see, if you make it bigger, you can see the tiny bit of dot, right? So it's gonna giving is not so wide, but it's actually having a design. But now What about that inter class name? It's just so simple. You just put a comma and just oops, it will not be that, it will be inter dot class name. Just enter that class name and both gonna work just fine. You're gonna get the CSS, you're gonna get your forms back, so everything working fine, trust me. So now let's go back to the Navbar, because we're gonna use that utility class in so many places. So now inside the Navbar, in the top level of the div, let's just give some class name for it. I'm gonna give a width of full, and I'm gonna give a height of a 20, and also a border bottom of 1 pixel, and also that border B should be the zinc of a 500. Okay, let's try. Okay, as you see, our border is obvious and I think it's going to be good. And now I'm gonna make also that BG white, but not the full white. I'm gonna give you 50% of the white, not full white. Okay, or for right now, let's give the full white, full BG white, because later on I'm gonna explain why I changed the white for what's the reason, right? And also the text, it will be a zinc 600. So whatever the text gonna be appear, it's gonna be zinc 600. So now this div is done. I'm gonna remove this one and I'm gonna take another div, and inside that div I need to put a logo, so it's gonna be our logo. So remember, we are having a logo here which we create on Hoover. You see the design pattern is going on, and also in the, I think the bottom part, you see that's giving a different color and pattern. So this thing also going to be created in a very good fashion. So now I will put that at logo.tsx. Now let's try RFC, because we know how to create a function. So inside the logo, how actually we gonna get the logo? So now here, what we gonna do, we gonna, you remember, that's the things we need to implement. So first thing first, let's just go what we can do actually. So we will not take a div, we're gonna take a link parameter. Remember, once we click on that, it's gonna take us always to back to the home page, so we need to keep it inside the link. So let's just keep inside the link, and then I'm gonna take a span, and inside this span I will put a tag, and after the span I'm gonna make that okay, zone pro, and now href, and it will always take us back to the home. Now what we need to do first is that to import that one instead of that. So now I'm just gonna comment that one, and first thing it will be the logo, then the navigation, and then it will be that icons. So that's the three things we're gonna create. So first let's oops, I click somewhere else. What's wrong? Okay, again it did the same. So first we're gonna import that logo. Okay, as you see our logo is appearing, but before creating that logo I want to design that div. Actually is giving me not giving me good impression for the eyes, so I'm gonna give a max width of screen axle, and it will be mx will be auto. Okay, looks good. mx will be auto, and also I want it to be the middle. So what I'm gonna do, flex item center, and it will not go with that, because remember I have a height of that. So I'm gonna just take that height of full, the parent height it's gonna get. So our Amazon Pro is showing here. So now we need to work with the logo, and to implement all the method in the logo, first we're gonna take something as a props. We will take as a props the class name we're gonna put, and also that span class name we're gonna pass a utility. You know why we are doing that? Because that icon gonna change its colors whenever we are going to the footer and other way, or you can specify the color as the way you want. So now we have that, and just for right now accessing any of the error, I'll put that one, but we're gonna write the props later on, don't worry about it. So now in the class name, what we are going to do, let's put the class name, and again I'm gonna use that our friend, which is the cn, and import it. And now here I'm gonna put that the text, it will be zinc of 950, so the black text, and the text gonna be axle, the large text, and I'm gonna make it as underline, and underline offset gonna be 4. And the decoration, what actually mean by decoration? Decoration is the underline weights. See that weight, if we just give the decoration of 5, it gonna be bigger. You see, that's the purpose of that keeping as decoration. And also I'm gonna make it as a group. And why I'm making it as a group, as you see, when I hover, effect is coming only that, so I need to make it as a group patternable way. So now I have given the class name. So now also I can bypass, like whatever the class name I'm gonna pass, it's gonna take that class name too. So now it's work for that span, what actually, because see, this design is coming for all the style pattern, all the letters. So now what about that A? Because now we're gonna design that too. The similar way, again, that CN is already imported. So now I'm gonna make a BG of zinc, and that's gonna be 950 again. Okay, and the text gonna be white, and I'm gonna give a width of 8 and height of 8 to make that rounding parameter, and the rounded it gonna be full. And as you see, it's already giving me that rounding portion, you see, but it's not so nice. So to implement that, we give a width and rounded full, and also I'm gonna make it indent flex. Okay, so it's gonna take all the available spaces. Okay, so the inland flex, I think it's working. Okay, what's actually my application is gone. Okay, it's here. And now item center, justify center, and also what I'm gonna do is text, it will be 2XL. So it gonna be make a bit of larger, and also that font gonna be bold, and margin right I'm gonna give it 1 to give a little bit space or gap. And now whenever I wanna gonna group in the parents, it's gonna be giving a hover effect, and the BG it gonna be blue 700. And also I'm gonna give a duration to give a very smooth effect. Now you see, once I hover, is changing. So our design pattern is actually, well, we did it, right? So now this was the span class name we're gonna provide, right? So after that class name, we're gonna just pass that span class name whenever we want to change the background. So now actually we did it with the any, but of course it's not a best practice to keep any here. So we need to define the props, and how actually we're gonna define. So we're gonna define an interface, and the name it will be the props, because we're gonna pass it like props. So the class name, oops, it will be class name, and we're gonna pass the class name as a string. And also that I believe the class name, or not the class name, actually it will span class name. Okay, and also it gonna be, oh, not the caps, it will be smaller letter string. And what's we gonna do, we're gonna pass it as a props. So now as we passed, as you see, there is still the error. Remember, we said that there will be that string, the class name, because the span and the class name, it could be there, but sometimes it may not be. Because see, if I want to pass the class name like a BG rate of 600, you see, it's actually appearing, but did I need it here? I don't need that one, so I don't want to pass, right? So to let the actually the Tailwind let the TypeScript know that whenever I want to pass, it will affect. If I don't pass, it will not take any effective method. So what I need to do after that class name, I need to just raise a question quotation. That with that notation, it's gonna be saying if there is a class name, it's gonna work, otherwise it will just be silent. So this portion is done, logo is done. Now we need to create our Navbar. Oh, sorry, not the Navbar, but the navigation. And to implement that navigation, what actually I would love to do is that to create that navigation in the top beforehand. So I'm gonna just make a variable navigation. You can, by the way, you can create it inside any of the file, because I'm gonna take an array of navigation, and inside that array I'm gonna pass an ID object method. I will give an ID, or you can keep the title as ID, or actually it's up to you how you prefer. So, and also we're gonna pass the title. The first one, it will be home, and then we need to pass an href, and first href gonna take us back to the home. So with that way, in the similar pattern, we're gonna create all the others one. And as you see, I have, I think, the 5. Let's go back there. Yeah, we have 5 here. So now what actually we're doing, we're passing an ID. By the way, you can pass that as a unique key because it's all the different names. You can pass the unique key with that also. So we have the ID and we have the title and we have the href. Now this is an array. We can now actually map through the array, right? So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna take an unordered list and then I'm gonna make a I'm gonna inject the JavaScript. So I need to put that curly braces and I'm gonna map through our navigation. So it will be navigation.map. I'll just take it as an item and pass the value. So now again, this will be as a link. So I'm gonna just put that link beforehand. And inside that link, I'm gonna pass our ally, the list item, and the list item gonna contain item, oops, not the time, item dot title. Okay, and by the way, we need to pass that href, otherwise it gonna start crying. The href, it will be item dot href. So it gonna take us to the home page and phone page. So whenever we click these pages, it gonna toggle through to us. So now as you see, this is already applicable here, but it's not in a very good motion because we made it item center, but also we need to make it justify between, and the padding in x-axis gonna be 4, but whenever it gonna be Excel screen, the padding in x-axis gonna be 0. That's it. So you see, this actually available here. And also in the icons, I'm gonna just take a P and I'm gonna just put that as icon so you can see the icon is available. Okay, so now what you need to do in the UL, the unordered list, put some class name. By default it gonna be hidden, you know, smaller screen. So whenever it's in MD screen, in the medium screen, it gonna be flex item center, and the gap, we are going to give a gap of 5, and the text, it gonna be small text, uppercase, and font gonna be semi bold. Okay, that looks good. So now we have that pattern. So we need to implement some other portion. Remember, there is an effect going on. Once we hover, you see, that's actually going a very good effect. So first, before going to create that effect, we need to, I want to create a page which are gonna be take us to actually with the phone. You see the phones is available here, and we give the router name as phones. So let's create a folder. It's gonna be as phones. And because whenever you're going to create a router in Next.js application in routes, you need to just create a folder in the app. If you're using the app directory, if you're using the page, you need to just create a page. So in the phones, inside that folder, you need to create a file called page.tsx, RAFCE, and this page is created. So if we just write something, it's gonna be, oops, it will be a phone page. And you see, if we click in the phone, you see it's taking me to the phone page. So it's actually working. So let's head back to the phone page, or in the Navbar first. So now we can actually go and take the conditional approach, conditional effect. First of all, once we are going to that phones, we need to get which route actually we are going, right? And to implement that, we can use a tiny things from that Next.js, which gonna be const path name, and it gonna be use path name, and you need to import that from Next navigation. And once you are importing that as it's a hook, what we need to do, we need to make that component as use client, otherwise you're gonna get that error. So you need to make that as a use client. So now what I'm gonna do, just gonna give a log and just log the path name, which path actually we are driving it. So if we open the console and go the path in the phones, as you see, it's going to be the phones. And if we go back to the home, it's just giving the home route. So now we can declare some of the calculation to create our second method. So, and it's gonna be starting in the ally portion. So let's give the class name. And inside the class name, I will pass the second bracket parameter, and I will use that backtick. So the hover, the text, it will be black because by default the text is Jenk, I think 600. And the cursor, it's gonna be pointer. It's gonna be pointer because we are in the link item, inside the link item, and the duration gonna be 200. And also I'm gonna make it as relative and overflow hidden. Remember, we're gonna use a line pattern, and then I'm gonna make it as group. Okay, And after that portion, we're gonna render a condition, and that condition gonna be if the item.href is equal to the path name. So only then it gonna give us a conditional design, which gonna be text. Let's take that color portion with the design portion, because I want to use that color in a several way. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna go back to the Tailwind config.js, or it will be ts here. So I'll remove this portion, we don't need that, and I'm gonna make that use the colors from here, and I'm gonna make the name of that design color, and inside the design color I'm gonna put my color here, so it's just a Yulish color. So now I can actually implement that color. Okay, so this, it will be design color. If we just save, as you see, home already affected because we are in the home is highlighted. If we're in the phones is highlighted. If we go back to the phone case, you'll get a 404. It will be a 404. You see the 404 is there, but you cannot see the message because this page is not available. So that 404 it will be coming. So now this is the link. So now we need to create the other one, which gonna be a span tag. So it will be span, a self-closing tag. Let's give some class name over here also. And the similar way, we're gonna wrap it with the backtick. And first of all, we're gonna make it an absolute, and height we're gonna give as 1 pixel, and it will take the full width. And pretty much you will not see anything right now because you need to give something which gonna be background blue up 700 is still not appearing. And okay, that's blue up 700. Okay, so now I'm gonna make a left 0 and also bottom 0, and nothing is showing. And whilst the issue is going on, it should show us there. Okay, now okay, what I will do, this is a relative div. I'm gonna just remove that overflow. Okay, it's nothing is showing. So now I will make also inline a flex or block. You know, it depends on what you prefer. Or I think it's no need that inline flex. It's supposed to come. Maybe we miss here. You see the height is not actually properly written. Yeah, that's the problem with the height. We missed that third bracket. Okay, so we gave that bottom 0, and now we want to make it translate x. It's gonna be minus 100%. So it's gonna be properly in the left portion. Okay, it's still not yet taken. Okay, it should not be there. I'm just messing around with the class names. And if we just remove that overflow hidden, you can see it's all are in the left portion. So now keep that overflow hidden here. And now whenever I'm gonna make that group and I'm gonna hover that, translate, it gonna be 0. So if I hover, as you see, it's coming. But we need to create that one in a very good way. So it will be a transition gonna be in a transform, and the duration gonna be 500. So now if we hover here, as you see, the design is coming and it looks so cool. So if you can give a VJ blue or some other, it depends on you. I'll just keep it the similar pattern. So now once we go in any of the page, I want it to be stay same like the color of the home. And to implement that, remember we did already, we just need to go with that item.href if it's equal to the path name, and only then it's gonna give that. So it will be the translate x gonna be 0 to stay on the point, and bj it gonna be that design color. That's it. You see, the design actually is working and looks good. Okay, so now we have this portion. So now we need to use some other icon also, and to implement that I'm gonna use that Lucide icon. So let's search that one. You see, it's already there, Lucide React. So this is the icon I'm gonna use. So first thing first, I'm gonna install that one here. So pnpm add Lucide, and here let's see how many icon we need. We need 2 icon and 1 login button. I'm gonna get it from here actually, all the icons, right? Okay, let's go and get the icon. And I will take two icon. One it will be heart and other it will be that shopping bag icon. So just import here, and still it's just installing. Give a bit of time. As we did the installation, the error is gone. And also if you search here heart, you see the icon is available here with a similar name. You can just take it from here. Okay, so now how actually we are going to implement. Remember, we are going to take a div here in the icons. Now inside the div, first we gonna all the icons we are going to take inside that link parameter, because it's gonna route us in some other way. So first icon it gonna be our heart, and the href it's going to take is in the wish list page. Of course we are going to create it later on, and also I'm gonna give some class name for it. And actually instead of going through on that, I'm gonna just popping up the class name here because it's gonna be similar in some other pattern. So making it an hover black, like hover text black, and some other class name is a similar pattern as you see. Okay, that's good. So now our heart icon also, let's give some class name, and it gonna be weight of 7, and also height gonna be 7. You can manipulate the width height the way you want. So now we will pass one span tag here. Remember, we make it relative and also group. So in the span, the same self-closing span. So now in that span also let's give some class name, and the hover it gonna be text of the block, and curse not that, sorry, oops, yeah, we are giving a different class name here. So what I'm gonna make, I'm gonna make it an absolute div, right? Okay, absolute, and the top it gonna be 0, and minus left it gonna be 1, and the bj it will be a zinc of, I believe, how much, let's just give 200. Not bj it gonna be 800, the text gonna be 200. Okay, 200 is nothing is appearing because we need to do something here, and that's what actually do. We will give a weight, we're gonna give a height of 4, and rounded it gonna be full, and the text it gonna be extra small text. You see, it's already appearing here. And instead of the self-closing tag, I'm gonna make two different tag with the closing tag. Okay, oops, it's not taking. Okay, because we need to put a number value here. Okay, let's just roll up. Okay, it's just saving, give a bit of time here. Okay, it's already saved. I think now it's gonna, you see that 0 is available here. So the text it will be the extra small text, and also what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna make it flex, item center, justify center to keep it inside the middle. And when I'm gonna hover in the parent div, what it gonna be do, it gonna be bj will be fully black. Okay, and also font I'm gonna make it a semi bold, and whenever I'm gonna just hover in the group, oops, it will be similar group hover, text gonna be white. Okay, now you see. Okay, why actually is not taking the flex? Did we make the flex? Yeah, flex, item center, justify center should work. Yeah, it's working, it just loading. Okay, so this is the one icon, it's done. So the similar way we need another icon, so I'll just copy paste that one, and this icon gonna be our shopping cart. So it will be, I believe that shopping bag icon should be there. And also to implement that, let's just reload. You see our shopping bag icon is available. And what I'm gonna do, in the top level of the div, put some class name, flex, item center, and the gap in x-axis you can give it 5. Okay, looks cool. So the similar pattern, the similar things, actually, is it similar? Yeah, that's the similar here also. Okay, so now after having these two, we need to have another parameter which also going to be a link parameter, or I will just put a button here, and that button gonna say us to make login. So for initializing that button, remember we are also, whenever we go in the button, that hover effect, we are having that. So I think it's gonna be a similar of the class name is here. Okay, it's kind of similar, so I will just copy that class name and let's implement here. Okay, and after that also, as we make it group and hover, so I will take that span tag, and inside that, or a single span tag is good and much preferable. Okay, so in the span tag is all the same class name I'm gonna implement. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna take this portion, not the other portion. I don't want to be affected there, so let's just put some class name and that's it. And let's go. You see, this effect actually is retrieving there. And one more things, I believe I missed it. Okay, okay, what we did here, I think some of the portion I missed. Text block, okay, that's it, that's the thing, because we give it in the parent div and I need to giving it now here. Okay, that's why the design is not coming. So our login is okay, our other portion is okay. So also if we go back to the smaller screen, you see that looks good. Okay, fine. So now what we need to do, we need to initialize our banner portion, and I'm gonna close all other parameter. So the layout is done. So in our components, we're gonna just create another file which gonna be banner.tsx, and this banner to be imported in the pages. So instead of this h1 tag, I'm gonna just get our banner. You see, it will appear. We are actually in the phone page, that's why. Let's go back to the home. You see the banner is available. So we need to create that slider, and it's very simple to create. We're gonna create it now. And to use the banner, we need to get the React Slick to stay in the portion. I have several videos where actually I use that React Slick. So if you have any problem to understanding it, you can go back to so many other videos and learn a bit more about it, because I need to work with so many other properties. So I will just make it a bit faster here. pnpm add, I'm gonna add that React Slick here. So now first thing first, again, what I'm gonna do, let's go back to our banner. Remember, I have already the assets is available. So in the slider I have the images, and here in the index I already configured that image, and I'm passing that image from here, exporting it from here. So now I can access that image anywhere I want. So now in that parent div, what I'm gonna do, in the larger devices, the min height is gonna be screen, and I will make it as relative. So also I need to actually, if you, there is a very good documentation here, so that this the portion actually we needed to implement. Okay, so to go with that, also one more thing is that we need to add that React Slick, and also we need to add that Slick carousel. Otherwise the design it will not match. So add the Slick carousel. So these two things we're gonna use from that React Slick. So let's get that, import that one. And also one more things need to be initialized, and if you just go back to the documentation carefully, you're gonna see that, which is showing that we need to get that carousel, that CSS one, to let it work. And of course we will take it and we're gonna keep it inside that layout here. That's it. So now we will be able to use that React Slick in our application. And to implement that one, we just need to import one of the class name from there, not the class name, the slider. Okay, that will be here. And as we have been given, you see, it's just crying because it's written beforehand, and there is no like the Tailwind, sorry, it's the TypeScript configuration is not available. So we need to install that types for React Slick. So pnpm, and it will be add with that types React Slick. And if you're using the npm, you can just go with the default npm install. If you're using the yarn, use the yarn add, and it's that simple. Okay, our Slick is done. So actually what we need to do, if we go in the documentation here, that's the same. We import the slider. So now we will just need to import the settings. So let's take the settings. We're gonna keep it here, and then we need to keep that slider here to let it be working here. So that's it. Our slider gonna be up and running. Okay, a must be null or a function. What we did wrong? I believe everything is right. Then why is giving us the error? Because we are using the slider which is not user friendly for the server. So we will make that as use client. That's it. Okay, as you see, now it's previous and next is going on. So now what's the things we need to implement? I need to get back all the images. So let's import the images. Import, it should be slider 1. Okay, and also the slider 2, and I'm gonna take that slider 3 images I'm gonna use here. So now you see the settings here. Okay, so I will just try to keep it as simple as possible and as fast also. So I'll keep a simple div, and inside that div what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna pass that image. Okay, so our first image, so inside that div I'm gonna take another div, and here I'm gonna pass the image. So that's our image, and also I'm gonna give the source, and that will be the slider 1. I need to give an alt tag, it will be slider 1. And also I'm gonna give some class name, and that class name is gonna be, okay, by the way, right now I'm gonna keep it as simple as possible, and I'm gonna make it as a priority because it will be the first image. You see, that's the image is applicable here. So now you see in here there is 2 separate background is going on, so 2 separate things gonna be working, right? So in the top level, let's give some class name, and I'm gonna give it width of full, and padding y it gonna be 32, and whenever it's lg, the padding y it will be 0, and lg height it will be screen, and also bj it gonna be slate of 200, and I'm gonna make it as relative. Let's see what you're getting. You see we're getting a background, and also we're getting the image. Now in the next layer of the div, I'm gonna give it width of full, and lg width it gonna be 1/3 portion, and by default it gonna be hidden. lg it will be I think inline block I'm gonna keep. Okay, and height gonna be the parent height, and bj I'm gonna make it as the design color background. You see, that's already available, and the z index gonna be 0. I'm gonna make it as relative. So these 2 is going good. So now I need to work with our image. So let's go with the image. Oops, it will be okay, I already defined the class name here, that's why it's giving that issue. So now here I'm gonna make that image as absolute div, and object it should be object cover, and also right should be 0, and whenever it's in lg devices, the right gonna be 48. Okay, right 48, or how actually -48 we actually I think that's gonna be, yeah, rigst -48, and also lg height should be screen. Let's try. You see our image is here, but you see it's actually not giving the effect we are looking, because as you see, if image is going to the top, there is a blur effect going on, right? Now we need to implement that blur effect. So whenever any, you see the background actually it's visible but not so visible, so we need to implement that one. And to do that, let's go back to our Navbar. Okay, inside the Navbar on the top layer we will implement that, where is the the text is Jing, and now I'm gonna make it sticky. Top 0, z index gonna be 50, so it will always be available to see. As you see, you can always see that. So now we will make that backdrop, and that will be background of white. Remember, I told you I'm gonna give 80% of the background, not the full background. As you see now, we can see, but actually it's giving a very bizarre effect, because we can see the image, we can see the background, it's not look so good. So to go out of that, I'm gonna make it a like the backdrop blur of 2 pixel. That's it. You see, it's just giving that backdrop blur, nothing else. So now we are having that image is looks so cool. So now there should be another portion after that div. So this is the div containing the image. So after that div, I'm gonna take another div, and that div gonna contain a p tag, which gonna say as get the best products for you. And let's see if it's coming. It's coming on the bottom, you see. And also we're gonna take another p tag where we're gonna come up with different text. Okay, so these 2 tags is just be staying at the bottom. We need to keep it in the top, so let's make it an LG. It's gonna be absolute LG. The top gonna be we need to make it in the middle, so 1/2, and LG left, it's gonna be also 2/3 to keep it in the medium portion. You see, it's just looking in that way. And I will make that transform. Okay, transform, and LG translate X gonna be 1/2 to keep it in the half, and LG translate Y also it gonna be it will be half, so 1/2 to keep it in actual proportion. Still it's not showing the where it should be, so I'm gonna make it flex, and flex in column. Okay, let's see what's staying. Okay, the similar place. And item center, I'm gonna give a gap of 5. Okay, so now these things actually working, but we are not getting the effect. So let's try what we can do. We make it relative, that div also relative. So now LG is, we are giving a top 1/2, left is 2/3, transform, and LG translate X is okay. I think it's gonna be -X because we want it to be staying here. As you see now, actually it's appearing. Okay, so that looks good. So now what I'm gonna do, this p tag, I'm gonna make some design. It's gonna be class name, and the text is gonna be Excel and uppercase. And also for that other one, text gonna be 2 Excel, and text it will be it will be center, and text zinc, it will be zinc of 600. Okay, both text looks good. So now what we need to do is we will gonna have another p tag, right? So it will be a fonts in demand. So now in this p tag also we need to give some class name, and it will be the text the similar of the previous one, 2 Excel, and now font it gonna be semi-bold. You see what actually we are doing, we are trying to create this portion. Okay, so that's the one we are going to implement. And I believe this one not gonna be the 2 Excel, because we are just going to keep the text as in the, and also we're gonna give a width of 96, so it will gonna be actually crammed together. Yeah, that's the portion we want to create. So now after in demand, we gonna be create a button which gonna be select a product. So now you can interlink to let it go in anywhere, and also introduce some class name here, and that will be the text of base, and font it will be medium, and font medium. Okay, and the text gonna be also white. BG it gonna be the design color, and rounded it will be MD. You see? Okay. And also one more things forget maybe, because we remember we make it the X is the minus, also Y should be in minus, so that it gonna become in the middle. So now the rounded is MD, and also PX gonna be 4 and PY it should be 2, and you see that's a very good, nice patternable design. So now we can actually keep it in the similar way. So what I'm gonna do, the similar pattern, the same thing. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna keep that other 2. You see that's the one containing this portion, this first image. So that's the other 2. The same, I'm changing the image, giving the other image. As you see, if we go to the previous, it's giving me that. Wow, that's nice. So all 3 images is there. Now I need to create this portion. Okay, so this gonna be implemented here in the top. So what I'm gonna do, because now we need to just work with that our slider portion. So instead of giving that settings, I'm gonna input my settings where the dot is true, infinite true, autoplay true, and the slide show to show 1, and others is speed is 1000. That's it. So now we can see the button is down. So these 3 we need to make it work. So after that speed, I will use that I think what's gonna be implemented, because okay, so that's gonna be wrapped with the settings. Okay, so I will just inject one of that object, not the object, with the state. So it will be dot active, and it will be set dot active, and by default in UG state it gonna be false. Okay, or not the false, I'm gonna make it in the 0. So every time the first one it should be active. If you reload the website, the first one gonna be activated. So that's the one gonna be happening right here. So now I'm gonna make that before change, and I'm gonna take a function. Oops, it's gonna be prev, and I will just keep it in as any, the next also any. And now here I'm gonna rejoice with the function, and it will be set dot active next. So every time the next one gonna be the true one. So now how actually gonna be append the dots? Okay, so it will be append dots, and here dots it gonna be any. Similar way I will just write a function here. So now from where actually I'm getting those things, if you go with the Slick components, I believe you need to go to their home page, and there is a very good documentation there. So go to the docs, and here you can go back to the examples, and from the examples is like with the responsive, resizable, so many example is there. And I believe what I am following right now, it would be append dots. That's the one I'm following. So if you follow this one here, you can get a very just get a very good idea actually how you can implement in a very broader way. But for me, it's just gonna serving my purpose if you follow me with that. Okay, so now append dots, what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna introduce a style. Okay, so just I'm gonna pass that style, nothing else, and I'm gonna make also the positioning. And after that I also need to make another thing which gonna be I don't know from where I'm getting the error. What's actually is crying. Okay, no overload matches. Okay, let's just go back again there. What we did, we make that append dots because everything gonna be inside that settings. Okay, okay, just it, I'm gonna ignore it right now because I'm gonna import another thing which gonna be custom, I think, paging, and again it gonna take a I parameter for the indexing. Okay, so now what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna pass that other div which gonna be very important to pass that other behavior. Remember, not actually I should be returning that. That's why can be the possible error. And also the previous one, yeah, the possible error should be that one because I need to return that value, not return that function parameter. So I'll just return in one line. Okay, that's it. So now you can feel free to go with that class names because that's just keeping the positioning. Remember the 1 2 3 4 it was in the bottom, so it just giving me that positioning. You see that 1 2 3. So this the positioning actually I created, nothing else. So still it's coming with 1 2 3. I think we maybe missed something. Okay, let's just go with little debugging. And I believe I make the mistake here because it's taking some of the class name which you need to specify very properly, otherwise it's gonna be messed up. So again, I'm explaining to you to feel free to go to the documentation, and to save my purpose you can just feel free to go with the class name and write it here, and one by one you're gonna have a better understanding. Okay, so now if I go and change, you see that is actually giving a very good effect also, and that effect is created here also. I believe it's we made that effect in relative. Okay, if we make that fade false, you see it's not gonna give a fading, it's gonna just go with the sliding, and that effect is coming with that we make it fade through, so it's just giving a fading effect. So now after that, what we're gonna have this portion available here at the very bottom of the slider, right? So now what's we gonna do, where the slider is finished, so this is our slider. Again, I feel sorry for that because I go fast with the slider. You're gonna just feel free to read documentation and you will get a better understanding. So now I also need some of the icon to implement here, so I will just get the icon, grab the icon from React. I believe that's Lucide React, and now I'm gonna take a div here. Let's just implement the div, and now inside the div I need to make that. Okay, so inside the div I'm gonna I'm gonna take another div, and inside the div let's make that clock. So this is the clock we're gonna be passing, and that class name, the text, it will be design color. Design color, and width and height it gonna be the similar. Height it gonna be 8. Okay, you see that's actually in the bottom. So what I'm gonna do in the top layer, I'm gonna give something which gonna be height of 20. Background it will be white, and I'm gonna make it an absolute. From the left it gonna be half, 1/2, and from the bottom it's gonna be -10. So it's gonna be a little bit upper from the bottom, not exactly in the bottom. I will make that a transform, and minus translate x gonna be half to keep it in the middle section. And by default it's gonna be hidden, and whenever it's gonna hit in LG it will be inline of flex. Okay, and it will be item center, and gap in x-axis gonna be 12, and padding it gonna be 10. Let's save it, and now you see that is actually appearing here at the bottom. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna just give a MB of 60, so you can see it actually that is appearing. So that's the one we are going to create. Now I will pass another div, and I'm gonna pass a p tag, and that p tag gonna be it will be Saturday, and then Thursday. And now another p tag, it gonna be just giving the timing, so 7 till at night of 8. Okay, you see these two taking the action, and I'm gonna make it class name font semi bold. Okay, nice. So in the top layer what I'm gonna do is to inject some class name, so not here, it should be here, and similar flex item center, and also gap of 5 and width of 60. You see that looks nice. So with that same pattern, all the other 4 it will be let's go back here. Okay, that looks nice. Okay, that's the portion actually we are creating. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna inject all of my other properties. Okay, so let's go back here. So it will be the similar of that. So after finishing that initial div, I'm gonna implement my other portion. You can just put that design color, that's the nothing else of the design color. So I will just go with that design color. Yeah. Okay, let's save, and you see that's actually created this portion. So I have the phone number, address and email just to be having that proportion. So that much all for the banner portion. So now after the banner we need to create the other parameter. So now what actually we can do in the components, we will take another file which gonna be go as products.tsx. So now we're gonna create this portion where actually we can show the product so people can see and visualize the product in a way. So to implement that, first let's go to the products, and here in the top level I'm gonna just put some class name here, and that it will be empty of 10, just coming up from margin top. Okay. Oops, I need to also bring it here. Products, import it. You see the products is available. So now again I will do one more things. I need to create another portion called the container, okay, where I can actually make some setup to create the pages like the Mac Suite and other. So the container is available, and inside the container again the two parameter I'm gonna pass, which gonna be take as a children, and another is for the class name. And inside the div I'm gonna render all the children, okay, and also to give the class name here I'm gonna use that cn, don't forget to import, and here the padding y it will be 10, and also max width it will be screen axle, okay, and padding x6 it will be x-axis it will be 4, and axle it gonna be padding 0, and also after that I'm gonna pass the class name. Okay, that's cool. And now for that I need to pass some of the properties, like I need to define that interface. So oops, it will be interface, and it gonna be the props, and now that will be for the children, it gonna be oops, it gonna be react node, and for the class name, remember keep it as optional, and it will be string, and here I'm gonna pass that props. That's it. So our component like our container is ready. So now after that initial div, what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna round up with that oops, with that container. Oops, it will not be like that. Container, you see the container is the bottom, import it. So now if I save, I will be able to see in the, okay, let's try something as a p tag or something just mambo jumbo. Okay, it's not taking the action, maybe something is wrong happening. Let's go back to the container again. Let's see what we did wrong. Okay, we did everything. We are passing the interface as the props, we taking the containers children, okay, we're passing the children, we are passing the class name. So what's wrong with it? Actually it's taking, but the problem is we need to make it as MX auto, so we cannot get that in the middle. As you see, now it's appearing. So it was okay, there was no issue, just we missed one class name properties. So now in the products, what we gonna do, we will take a div and we're gonna create that h2, which gonna be written as choose a category, okay, and after that p tag we're gonna put that the p tag portion, which gonna implement that explore the dozens of customs layouts or some other properties. So let's save it. You see those all are available. So in the top layer of the div, I'm gonna make a flex and flex in the column, and the gap of 2, and item should be in the middle on the center. And now for the h2 tag, again put some class name, and the text gonna be 3 axle, and font it will be semi-bold, okay. And for another p tag, class name, the text it gonna be lg, and the text it would be in the center, okay. So okay, that looks nice. So after that p tag, so the initial p tag, I'm gonna take another div, and inside that div I'm gonna take that link parameter from that next link, and inside that link I'm gonna take, because I need to use some of the icons again, I'm gonna take those icons from that the side React. I need to that PC case, scan face, smartphone, watch. You can feel free to go that side website and search for that icons. So the first one, it's gonna be a smartphone, and here also skip some. Okay, I will not put any of the class name, I will just make that href, and that it gonna take us that phones. Okay, so okay, you see the phone is available here, and what I'm gonna do of MB of 60 so that you can see. Yeah, if I click here, it's gonna take us to the phone page. So now after that smartphone, we're gonna also give it p tag, which gonna write us the phone, and in the top layer and the link parameter, I'm gonna give class name flex gap, it gonna be give a 2 of gap, and one more thing, hover text gonna be black, and cursor should be pointer, and the duration gonna be 200. Okay, looks nice. The effect we can see yet, because in the top layer of the div we need to modify here, and what we are going to modify, we're going to modify text of zinc of 500, and also flex item center, and also the gap gonna be 2, and md the gap it will be bigger, so it will be 6, and mt the margin top gonna be 5. Okay, we did that. Now we hover, you see the effect is actually showing here. So now after that link parameter, I'm gonna take that another div actually here, so it will be a self-closing div, and that div, let's put a class name, the height gonna be 7, and width it gonna be 1 pixel. Okay, and bj it will be the design color, and it gonna be inline flex to make that separator. Okay, so all other parameters gonna be it's actually going to be implemented in the similar pattern. So what I'm gonna do after that div, I'm gonna just get my all other properties for the phone case, watches, which gonna be take us to the watches parameter, and accessories. That's it, you see. So this 4 is affected and created here. So now we need to render the products. Okay, so where actually we're gonna render the products, it will be inside the container. Here we're gonna render it. So in the components, I will take another file which gonna be product.ts tsx rafce. So here actually we are going to render our products. So just let's get the products, and as you see, okay, maximum call stack. Let's just check what we missed up. Oh, we didn't implement that. We need to import. Okay, import product from products. Okay, it's not the products, it should be product. Product. Remember one thing, actually when you write that name, we make it as procast. Actually it's not it's I think it's a misspell is there. duct, it should be uct. Okay, so now also we need to implement that duct products, and also in the functional parameter I'm gonna just change it here, so it's a products, and also in the pages it gonna be products, not the other one. It's my bad, just save it. It's just the interlink debugging, you see. There's nothing to worry, we can fix it anything, you know. So now this is our parent parameter. Here we're gonna render the product, then we will pass the product to our parent, to our children. And remember, we use that JSON server.reactbd to get the product. That's the product we need to fetch. And to fetch the products, we will create a function, and that function gonna render all the products. So what I'm gonna do, in the source I will take another folder, so what gonna be make as helpers, and inside the helpers I'm gonna take a file which will be index.ts. Okay, so now here we're gonna call all the products. So what I'm gonna do, export const get products, and of course it's gonna be an async call because we need to wait to get the product from the server. And now I will take the response and it will be await to fetch, and inside the fetch parameter, remember I need to pass that parameter. Okay, so that will be our parameter. So now what actually I don't want to cache. Okay, so what I'm gonna do, caching, I'm gonna implement no caching, because maybe I will change the data parameter, then it's very painful to retrieve it from the local storage. So now what I'm gonna do, if the rest is not okay, I'm gonna throw an error. So it's gonna just throw new error, and that error gonna combine failed to fetch products. And now what happened if the response is okay, then it gonna return res.json. So now in this similar pattern we can call the products in our product. So here we can call that function, and before calling it, remember you cannot use that in the use client parameter, it always need to be in server side. Okay, that's the Next.js convention. So I will make that parameter as async parameter. You cannot make async as with that server client side. Async should be always in the server side. So now const it will be products. Okay, products is equal it will await. Okay, again I made that mistake, and awaits, and it gonna be get phones. Okay, I remember what's the name we give for that. It will be actually the get products, not the get phone. So let's just call get products. Okay, that's it. So now just make a log and let's see what we are getting inside the products, and that log actually gonna come here in our server console, because it's in the server side, so it will come in the server console. You see, we can actually get all the products here. So now we are having that products in the server. So remember we have another component which is called name the product. So what I am gonna do, I'm gonna pass that products there. Okay, so the uct products gonna be take that products. That's it. So now let's go to our product section. So here what we're gonna do, we're gonna take that products, and remember we're gonna create that client side utility, because you know once you click a person can actually save it there, or can remember in the product what we have here, anybody can select that product, make it add to the cart. So client side implementation is going to happen. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna make it as use client. Okay, so it will be use client, and here if we just make that log to see the products, let's see if the product is visible or not. Go to the console, put the log, and you see our product is available. All 58 products is available. So now we can create our components to be familiar for the products. So first thing first, let's just render, because I will just keep it okay, let's define some properties here. So also I want you to let's see it, because we're gonna define the type definition. So just open a product. You see what we have ID, title, quantity, price, previous price, is new, and other properties. So what I'm gonna do in the top layer, I'm gonna just put a file which gonna be type.ts. So inside that type.ts we're gonna define that products type. Okay, so we're gonna export, and it's gonna be interface, and just make that product type. And first one, it will be our ID, which gonna be a number, and then it gonna be title, which is string. Okay, then it will be description, which gonna be string. So what I'm gonna do is the similar pattern, you can feel free to write it. So that's the one. So the ID is number, title is string, description is string, image is string, price is number, previous price number is new, it will be true or false, boolean value, brand is a string, category is string, quantity also the number. So that's all the parameter we actually keep it there. So now what's actually we can do, we can pass that as that product type. And as we did, you see nothing happened. It's because in here, so that's actually we are calling it here. So as we call it here, we need to pass another parameter. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna create an interface, and that interface gonna be item, and here actually we are passing it as the name of products. So the products, we need to define the products gonna be which type. It's gonna type a product type which gonna be combined an array. So now I'm gonna pass that item, and the error is fixed. So we don't have any error right now. And let's close other parameter. And what I'm gonna do in the helper function, also I need to create the other helper index. So now the similar pattern, I have that get product. So in the same way, I'm gonna combine all other parameter which gonna be get the other products. So the same pattern, you see. So I'm getting of the get phones which gonna hit with the category phone, and of course the similar way. And also for the phone case is hitting on the phone case, and for the watch, same with the watch and accessories, the similar pattern is going to happen. So just save it, because this 4 I need to render in 4 page and then need to pass to the products, because we're gonna render only that single component for all the pages, for all the product pages. Okay, so now let's go back here. We don't have error anymore. So in the product and the top layer, so I'm gonna give a class name here, or before giving the class name, I will just make that which gonna be products.map. I will just take it as item, and I'm gonna return a link parameter, because everything gonna be inside that link. If we click, it gonna just take us to the different page. Or before the link, I believe also I will just keep it inside a div, then I'm gonna keep it inside the link. Okay, now that link I'm gonna put an href. For right now I will just put that params, okay, nothing else. So now inside that, in the top layer of the div, but beforehand let's just render that image. Okay, so that image, and in the image I need to give that source, and the source it gonna be item. Oops, it gonna be item dot, you see, because we defined the type. Now we are having that image, and this image gonna be coming with the, any of the server, like I host that image in ImageBB, so I need to mention that also the width and height. So the width gonna be 500, and the height, oops, not the hidden height, gonna be 500. Let's save that one, and after saving you're gonna get an error. You see, you need to combine that. We need to configure that the host name in the Next.js. That, remember, we have a file called next config.js. So now we need to configure our image parameter, the image domain name there. So let's go to that file, which gonna be where is that? Next config.js. And in here I'm gonna define images, and inside the images I will pass that domains, and inside the domains I will pass that image parameter. I will pass 3 image parameter. One is for the product image, and other 2 it gonna be one for the Google login and another gonna be for the GitHub login. So both parameter I just implement here. Okay, so after you make any changes in the next config.js, so you just need to close your server, then restart again, and it gonna work. So the similar thing I'm gonna do, I'm gonna just hit and close that one. Okay, okay, what's wrong? Okay, and again pnpm run dev. So after it's running, it gonna be work just fine. So let's go back to the product. While it's running, we'll just define some class name for it. So the class name, and the class name, the width it gonna be full, and height we're gonna give a height of 8, and object gonna be contain lg, object gonna be cover, oops, lg object gonna be cover. Okay, let's save it. Let's see how the product is appearing. You see the product is actually getting the full weight because we give the full weight, but what actually we need to do in the top layer, I'm gonna just make it as relative, and not the relative that one, because that one it's gonna be go as grid, and grid it will be grid calls of 1 by default, and MD it will be grid calls of 2. And whenever it's gonna hit an Excel devices, the larger devices, the grid calls should be 4, and also the gap gonna be 6, and empty gonna be margin top gonna be 10. So if I save that, as you see, now it's getting the proper proportion, and it's actually gonna load so many other images. It's just going to get a little bit of time with that. Now in the parent layer also, I'm gonna give some class name. Again, I'm gonna make it as relative, and background it gonna be white, and I will make it as a group, and border it will be 1 pixel, and that border gonna be zinc of 800. Not 800 is not good, it will be fully black. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna give it a 200 of border, and hover border zinc, it will be border zinc of 500, and the duration gonna be 300, and hover I'm gonna make a shadow in Excel. Okay, and also I'm gonna make it overflow hidden, and that's because whenever we hover, remember in our previous example, our image getting bigger, so all the other elements, the overflow is gonna be hidden, as you see. So now in the image, let's create that effective portion. We make it LG object cover, and now whenever we are hovering on the group, we're gonna make it a scale of 105, and the duration gonna be, just give it 300. As you see, a little effective portion is going on, and it looks nice. So that's the image portion is done. So after the image, remember with the same parameter inside that, not after the link actually, we need to place that heart icon. Okay, first let's just get the icon. What's the icon we're gonna use? Only one icon actually, we're going to use the heart, so I'm gonna import it. Okay, so now let's get that heart. Okay, and in the heart icon, what I'm gonna do, there will be a color and other properties, so let's just put that, and it's gonna make it absolute. Let's see if we can see that it's visible. Okay, no, not yet visible. So when you make the absolute dip, and the top gonna be a 4 still, why we can, yeah, we can see that now. Yeah, top 4, and the right gonna be 4 because I want it to be absolutely in the right side, and the text gonna be zinc of 500. Okay, zinc of 500. And what we can do more, width of 5 and height of 5, and also hover, text gonna be black, and cursor pointer duration 200. Remember the color proportion, that's gonna be a fill color. Right now what I'm gonna do in the heart, I'm gonna just put that fill color. So the fill, it's gonna be, for right now I'm gonna make it as black. Okay, just to be in the black, because once you click it's gonna be red, and that going to be happen once it's gonna be added in that wish list. Okay, so this portion quite fine. So after the hearts, we need to take another portion of the div, because our text parameter gonna be there. So I will take a p parameter, and there it's gonna be item dot title. As you see, that title is appearing. So this main layer, I'm gonna make some class name. The padding, it's gonna be 4 padding, and a background gonna be zinc of 100. And whenever I'm gonna group in the hover, I'm gonna hover in like making a hover on the group, it's gonna be zinc of 50, and group hover, the shadow gonna be Excel. Okay, I think also the duration gonna be 300. Okay, you see. Okay, this is the same. Yeah, it's the same parameter is happening. So let's go to the p tag for the title. Let's just make that whenever I will make in the group on hover, the text gonna be design color, and the duration again the similar duration, it should be follow to all. And now another p tag, and that gonna be item dot price. So I will show the price here. So you see the price is happening, but this price is not look so good. Also again, I'll just keep that p tag, class name font, I'm gonna make it semi bold. Okay, but this price, you see there is a dollar sign with the price, so we need to create the dollar sign phenomena. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna create another component which name it will be the formatted price. Okay, so it will be formatted price.tsx rafce. So in the formatted price, what we're gonna do, we're gonna format our price with that US dollar sign, and in that we're gonna translate to local string on US dollar. So to implement that, in the amount we will take just an amount parameter, and here we're gonna type that props, or you can write interface, doesn't matter. So the amount it's gonna be as the number, and also we're gonna pass that class name, it's gonna be as a string. So here we're gonna just pass that our props, and remember the class name may be there, may not be there, doesn't matter at all. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna pass a span tag, and it's inside that span tag I'm gonna pass that amount parameter. So right now if we go back to the product, and if we just cut that one and make that formatted price, and inside that parameter of amount, if we pass that value, oops, it will be a single it will be a single object. Okay, if we pass that, you see we're getting that amount, right? But it's not formatted yet. Okay, it's not formatted, so we need to make it formatted. And how we can do that, in let's go to the formatted price, and here we're gonna implement, so it will be const for formatted amount. So in the formatted amount, what we're gonna do, it's gonna be taking a new number, and inside that new number we'll pass the parameter of amount. First we're gonna make it as to local lowercase, not so amount dot to is we are doing in the right proportion to local string. Yeah, to local string. Yeah, we need to make it in the local string, and should be that it should be an English parameter of US. And after that we need to pass an object, and inside that object we need to pass that style, which gonna be for the currency. And also for the currency parameter, it should be that USD, and also maximum that a fraction of digits gonna be 2. And now instead of that amount, we will pass that formatted amount here. So now it's gonna go with the dollar sign. And also you see, now if we just make that fraction of digits of 4, it's gonna give a 4 digits, but is the dollar have the 4 digit? No, so it will return the 2. So 2, it will be the maximum. So you see our price variation is okay. So after the formatted price, there is the other parameter we need to implement. Okay, I'll make it a little bit lower. So that's the formatted price. And now what's actually going to be there, there will be add to cart and more info, right? Let's implement that. So I'm gonna take a div, and there it will be a button which gonna be tell us to add to cart, and another one it gonna be just make it a link, and link gonna be more info. So that's the link. Also we're gonna right now just we're gonna make that href of home. Okay, we're gonna implement that parameter in a way. So now let's go back to the in the top layer of the div. Let's put that class name. It's gonna make it flex item center, justify between, and text gonna be sm, and empty it will be 2 for the margin top. Okay, looks good. So now what's actually we need to do in here, it will be the similar parameter for both of that. So I'm gonna select both of the parameter. Let's put the class name. First, I'm gonna make it all as uppercase, and font it gonna be semi bold, and hover the text it will be the design color, and the duration gonna be 300. Okay, looks nice, and that's serving the purpose. So now what's actually happening here, once we click, you see is giving us to a separate page. Of course there is a server error, so the pages is not loading because I deployed it and I didn't configure the environment variable. But what's the sole purpose? Going to show you an image, and then the data is available here. So that's the page we are going to create. Okay, so first thing first, we need to create a page with an initial ID, because right now we are having all the details, right? So now in the app we're gonna create a page, and it will be ID. So now over here, whenever we click any of the ID parameter, we will be able to go inside that page. So after inside here, we need to create a page.tsx rafce. So now if we just rename that one as product page. Okay, now if we come in the local host, give any of the number, any of the ID, it's gonna take us to, you see the product page is appearing, so that's the ID. So we will go to that with our actual ID. Okay, and to do that, I'm gonna close the types and others. Okay, so in the product, remember we actually initialize in the before on the top. Okay, so that's the same pattern, it will be on the bottom, both it will be the same. So now in the href, instead of this, we're gonna use that path name parameter, and we're gonna use a backtick here. And now what we're gonna mention, item dot, if the item is available, then item dot id. And inside that query parameter, because we're gonna pass a query, not here, out of that backtick. So inside that query, we're gonna pass a query, and what's the query it will gonna be, because we need to pass that ID, and that ID is gonna be item dot id. That's the simple parameter we are gonna pass. And remember our href, this one and this one gonna work the similar thing. So I will just pass that here also, because that's in both cases it's gonna do the same. So now let's just click here. As you see, we are going back there with our actual ID. So now we have the ID. So now actually we can get back the products. And how we gonna get that? Let's go and sort it out. So of course I'm gonna keep it as a server side, I will not make it as a client side application. So now what I'm gonna do, first I'm gonna take the search params from here. So it will be that search params. For right now I'm gonna make it as any, and let's just make the search params. Okay, as you see in the search params we are getting an ID. Okay, so now this ID we can grab it. So now how we'll grab it, and this will be const. I'll just make that ID string, because we are getting it as a string, but we need the ID as number, right? And so it will be the search param dot and ID. Now we are not getting that TypeScript things, because we need to make that interface, or we're gonna make that props type, and that types it gonna be a search params. Okay, pa I think a search params. So what actually it gonna be, it will be inside an objects with an array of, it can be the key, and if it's a key it gonna be a string, and then also it can be a string, and or it can be a string of array. Let's pass the array, and also it can be undefined. Sometimes we don't want any value there. So now if we just gonna make that right now, and you see if we put the dot, I think it will not reflect with the ID, so doesn't matter. So now we have the ID, but it's actually not a valid one, because what we need to do, because if we just make that ID string also, we'll get the actual ID. But this ID, if we just make that like the type of that, like make that type of ID and I believe it gonna be as a string, as you see, but we need that ID as number. So how we'll make that number? So we'll just make that ID, and we're gonna make that, oops, it will be number, and we'll pass that ID string. So now if we just make that console.log and ID, oops, it will be ID, and right now you see we are getting back the number. So now actually we can retrieve the product from our background. Remember, we have all products there. So now what's we gonna do? We're gonna write a function. It will be a single product, and of course we will pass the ID in the parameter, which is a number, and then we're gonna write the function, and now we're gonna get the item, and that item, remember, we're gonna have that products in helpers. So we first can get the products, right? So what I will do, first thing first, I will make it as a async function, and it will be const products equal to await get products. So now we can access that all the products here. So it's gonna be products dot, we will use the find method, and with that we're gonna find, and we will take the parameter as product, and remember the type we already defined, the product type. So from there we can actually define which we want. So product dot ID, it's gonna be equal to ID. So if it's matched with the ID, it's gonna return that item. So let's return, and it will be the item. So I think it's going to work right now. So now product equal to, we're gonna get that I think the single product, and we're gonna pass that our ID in the parameter. So now if we make that log as the product, remember we'll be able to see the product. You see, we come back from the iPhone, we can see the iPhone product. So now let's go back to the watch, any of the watch, select, let's go inside of it. You see that it's changed, it's coming with the fossil Gen 6. So it's better to show in a way to actually to highlight the item. So let's go and create that. So instead of the div, I'm gonna round up with that container. Oops, it will be container, and it's gonna import from the container the components, not the site. So I'm gonna remove this portion, and here I'm gonna take a div, and inside the div I'm gonna render our image portion. Okay, this image I need to import. Let's import the image from next image. Oops, and now this image, again the source, it will be product dot image, and the auth, it will be product image. Okay, and now here again the width and height, you can make it as auto, but I want to give 500 for the clarity of the images, and also put some class name. It will be that transform, and it gonna be transition, it will make the transform here. And also whenever I hover, oops, not why gate lens is open, whenever I hover, it gonna be a scale of 110 and the duration of 500. Let's see the image, it should be appearing. Okay, you see our image is here. So now what I'm gonna do, in the top layer of the div, we'll make some class name over here. Class name, the width gonna be full, and whenever it gonna be empty screen, the width it will be okay, never mind. What I'm gonna do, I'm gonna first give in the top layer. So put some class name flex, and it will be item center, flex gonna be column, and md it gonna be flex row, and padding axle of 4, and it gonna be in axle devices padding x, it will be 0. Okay, so now we're gonna grab that parameter. So md it gonna be weight of half of that parent div. Okay, and overflow I want to be hidden, and bj of zinc of 50, bj, so the background of zinc as 50. Okay, And now I'm gonna make it flex, item center, justify center, and a padding of 10. Okay, that looks cool, I believe. You see, there is a background here and the image is rotating on, just rounding up on that background. So now this is the one of the div. Then I'm gonna get another div, and inside that div I'm gonna put that h2 tag, and inside that h2, first one it's gonna be product dot title. Okay, let's see. Yeah, we can see the product title, and also I'm gonna make some class name here, and that first it will be with full md, it will be weight 1/2, the half of the weight it will take, and flex it will be in column, and gap gonna be 2. So now the title also gonna take some class name, the text gonna be 3 and font it gonna be semi-bold. Okay, we have a very good title here. After title, let's put some p tag, and inside that p tag, let's see the structure. We're gonna have some 2 of the prices, so it will be the formatted price, and it's gonna be first one in the amount, it's gonna be a product dot price, and the similar way, and the second one it will be previous product dot why is not coming? I think it should differ of that previous price, right? Okay, did we have that previous price? Yeah, we have that previous price. That why is not appearing? Is it not having that previous price? Okay, it's here, and I don't know why it's not showing. Okay, it should be this one. Okay, previous price. Okay, both are generating. Okay, now in the p tag, let's put flex item center and the gap of 10 to give us some of the gapping parameter, and the first one gonna, because we can pass the class name both of that. Okay, so first one gonna be text of LG, and font it gonna be semi-bold, and the second one gonna be class name and text of zinc of 500, and it gonna be line through to show that it's the previous price and which is not available. Okay, is it taking that? Did we configure it? Okay, let's go back to the formatted price again. I think we didn't configure the class name. Remember, we give the span but we didn't give the class name, so let's put the class name here again. Get our utility function, and first it's gonna be take text as base, and the text gonna be black, and now after that it gonna take that okay, we take the amount, and also we need to pass that class name. So that's the class name gonna reflect here as we did, I believe. See, it's reflecting, so we can get the price class name here. Okay, so we get back the price, and now after the price, after that p tag, what we gonna do? Another p tag, and it gonna tell us, oops, it gonna say us you saved, or a smaller letter saved, and of course I want to give a gap here, so that's the gap gonna be round up. So after that initial gap, again put that formatted price, and here I'm gonna pass that amount, and that amount gonna be product dot previous, oops, okay, what I did, product dot I believe it should be previous price, and then minus it gonna be product dot price. Okay, so we can see how much people can save. So 170 they are saving, and of course for that one, that formatted class price, we need to give some class name. So the text gonna be base, and font it gonna be semi-bold, and bg it will be design color, and we're gonna make it as underline, and underline offset of 2, just to highlight for the people. So that's the highlight portion is there, so to show that you are saving $170 from this product. Or we can pass the message also. You are like what you're passing, you are saved, and that can be the message. And we're gonna give a gap here, and here we're gonna write from this product. This from this product. Okay, also I'm gonna put a stop here. So now you saved that, so just a little bit highlighting so people to understand it. So now after that also we need to make this add to cart. Now remember one more thing, because I will just keep that one for you to because we're gonna have a button which gonna say as add to cart. So now this button we will not keep it here, remember, because what's actually gonna happen in the button, we need to make that client side a float. So this actually should not be here, so we need to create another component. So, and on that component we're gonna make that with that add to cart functionality. Okay, so first of all I'm just gonna keep it as simple as it right now. So now, or I'm gonna keep that in a p tag also, so it will be seeing it here, or okay, it's taking it there. Okay, so now it's here. So now add to cart, and then what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna make another proportion which gonna be product, and if there is that is new is available, and only then I want to show it. And what I'm gonna show, I'm gonna render a p tag, and inside that p tag I'm gonna say that or it will be new arrival. Okay, so you see this product is new arrival. So what I can do now, I'm gonna make some class name, and it will be text design color, and also the font it gonna be make as semi-bold. Okay, and for the other one take another which gonna be brand, and again the span tag where I'm gonna show that product dot brand. And the similar or not the similar, what I'm gonna do, put the class name, the font it gonna be semi-bold. Okay, so the brand is available, so I'm gonna put also the category here, category, and it will be product dot category. Okay, and I believe everything going so well. Okay, I will just remove that log which is not necessary. In the search param, whatever we got, I'm gonna just pass that as the props. We didn't pass it yet. So now after that category, also we need to take another p tag. What we gonna make it here is the product dot description. Okay, so the description it will be going on there. So now everything looks so fine, but add to cart need to be having some design, and where I am not actually we can do it right now, because as it's gonna be a button. Okay, so this is the button, it will be now the p tag button class name, and that class name, what actually we want to have it gonna be design color, and we're gonna give 80% of that, I think, to make it looks more flourish. And the text gonna be zinc of 700, and after that padding x-axis gonna be 6, padding in y it's gonna be 2, not 3, it's gonna be 2, and font it will be medium, and rounded MD. Okay, and hover the background it will be the design color. Let's see the effect. Any effect is happening? No effect? Yeah, this effect is there. Okay, so that's getting the design color, and and also one more thing, over is the design color, and what actually we can implement, and hover the text gonna be black, and cursor gonna be pointer, duration gonna be 200, and hover the shadow it will be LG. And what is one more important things we can actually give? We can make it as a width and height. For right now, what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna give a width actually here, because later on we're gonna implement the other functionality. So let's put that 52. Okay, that's cool. Not 52, it's gonna be 40, and my gonna be margin and y-axis gonna be 2. Okay, so this is the add to cart button. So let's go back to our home. So we have our pages. So now let's go back to the phone pages. Here we can see the phone products, right? We will create the page right now. So inside that phone page, we have the pages, right? And by the way, we actually need one more things, which we call the footer. We didn't create it yet, so it's not looks nice once we are going through any of the pages. So I will just go and create the footer in a quick way. So let's take another file over here, and it's gonna be footer.tsx. Okay. Did you remove the console? Yeah, remove. So in the footer, let's just give a class name, which gonna be background, or I can keep it in Tailwind, but I will just go with that now. 735. That is the color of the dark color, and empty it gonna be 10, margin top, and padding in y-axis gonna be 10, and text gonna be zinc of 300. Okay, that would be our footer, and that footer we need to implement in the layout. Remember, we have the children, and after that we just gonna be take that footer here. Okay, let's save it, and you can see the footer is available. So now in the footer, first thing first, we need to get our logo, remember. So now here, what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna pass our container. Remember, container is coming with the max width and height. So inside that container, we will pass that our logo. Okay, the logo is available. Logo, you see the design is actually not matching with our design. That's why we can pass the class name here. So the class name, the text gonna be white. You see, we can see the text, and also we have another properties which is called that span class name, and that one gonna be bj of white, and text of black. Okay, now you see, looks nice, right? So we have our logo, and also after the logo we need to have another thing. Remember, we need to pass that UL, and here we're gonna make that navigation. And now that's why, because we created that navigation in the Navbar. Remember, inside the Navbar we created that navigation. So now actually that's not helpful, because we cannot export that navigation here. So for that instance, we're gonna take a folder called constants, and inside that folder we will take a file name data.ts. So now inside that data file, remember that navigation which actually we implemented here, I'm gonna cut it from here, and what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna make it export, and I'm gonna pass that navigation here. Okay, now we use that navigation, we just need to import it from that data file, and you see there is no changes, it's working fine. And also for the footer, now we can actually access that navigation and we can use it here. Okay, so how actually we can do it? It will be navigation, oops, not the navigator, it will be navigation from that const data, and then I'm gonna map through it, and I will pass that everything as item. Then I'm gonna return, and it's gonna return a link parameter. Oops, it will be a link parameter from the next link, and now I'm gonna pass that li. Remember, in the link need to put that href should be item.href. And also for, remember, and we are missing one fundamental things, we are not giving any of the key. Remember, in the deployment it gonna be affected us, so item.id is the key. So in the li, because we are not getting the error here, but in whenever you're on the client side, the error is gonna show up. So now we're gonna make that item.id title. Let's see if we can see the title. Yeah, that's available. And also let's go to the products. Remember, we actually mapping through the products, but we didn't pass the key. So the key, it will be item.id. That's the key. And also in the Navbar, we use that. So navigation, we pass the href. Let's pass the key item.id. That's the key. Okay, so now in the footer, in the container, we're gonna go and grab or give that class name to implement. And what's the class name we want to give here? Let's make some class name, or I'm gonna make it just flex item center, justify between. Let's see. Okay, that's one or two things. So that will be one, and there will be another p tag which will be join me with at reactpd.com. So, and in the class name, it's gonna be the class name, and text, I'm gonna make it as right. Okay, so now this UL, let's just put some class name. Flex gap gonna be 6, and item should be in the start. Okay, is it okay? Or item should be, we can make it in the center, and also justify in the center to keep it everything in the center. And now in the link parameter, after that id, let's just you can give in the link, or actually we can pass in the li, doesn't matter, it will work in the simultaneous way. So hover the text, it's gonna be white, and duration, because cursor by default it's gonna be pointer. Okay, so now we are having that effect. If you keep in the phones, you see coming in the phone. If we go back to the home, we can go back to the home, and at the home also at the bottom you can have that. So now we are in the, I think we are, where actually we are. We created the phone page. Yeah, we are inside the phone page right now. So now we can, to get the products, very simple, we need to make that one as async. And also we need to like const, remember we will pass the parameter as products and await, and it will be get phones. Okay, so the phones data, and remember if we go back to the get phones, you see what we are doing, we're giving to the server, and the category phone we are passing. If you just go back to the server there, and remember in the Amazon Pro, if we pass that category watch, it's gonna be watch data is be available. So what I'm gonna do, go back to the server, and let's go back to the page, and the phone data, you just need to copy that. It will also work, it will also work just fine, or you can just fetch through the category, that's gonna be work fine also. It depends on you, whatever you like. So now in the phone page, we are having that data, but before implementing that data here, what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna take another, or instead of the div, I'm gonna pass everything inside that container. Okay, so container, okay, and now I'm gonna pass a div, and again another div, then h2 tag, which gonna be phones. And here I'm gonna give a p tag, which gonna say as get the phone you want. Okay, you see that's came out very good. In the top layer, I think even it's not necessarily required actually. I'm gonna just not going to use it. So let's give in that name, so it will be border, I think bottom, yeah, 1 pixel. Okay, and that border B, it's gonna be zing of 400, and padding B, it will be 4. You can see that. Okay, nice. And make it flex item center and justify between. Okay, anything? Yeah, you see, get the phone you want, so it's giving that parameter here. So now after that, I'm gonna take another p tag, not up, I think out of that div. Okay, and that gonna be showing showing all, and it's gonna be products dot length. Okay, So the length of products is gonna be there results. So whatever products is, how many products is available here, it's gonna show that result. So now let's put some class name here. It will be margin top of 4 and the text gonna be zinc of 500, not 55, and font it gonna be semi-bold. Okay, now we're showing the result of 20. So what we need to do next to get the product, remember? So the product, and inside the product, in the parameter of the products, we will just pass the products. So what's the products we pass? We pass all the phone products here. That's it. We are having the phone products. So if we click on the phone, it's gonna work in the simultaneous way with the same pattern. So now we have the phone. So what's the two another pages we require? We have the phone cases. So let's go back here and we're gonna create another folder which gonna be phone. Oops. It's gonna be a naming true of that phone cases, and here you're gonna take page.tsx, and instead of taking that RAFCE, what I am gonna do, because as is intended to follow through all the pages structure, I'm gonna just select all, and inside the phone cases I'm gonna paste it here, and it's gonna be get phone cases data. So inside here also, what's the parameter we can you can put any data you want. So I'll just make that get the phone case you want, and that's it, phone cases. Okay, so if we just click on the phone cases right now, I believe it's gonna give us that result of phone cases. See, it's very simple to create. Now every single pattern is rendering with that single function. So watch, I think this page is watch or watches, maybe, yeah, watches. So let's just go through with that, and it will be index, not the index, it's gonna be page.tsx, and I'll just paste everything here, and it will be get watches. So it will be watches get the what you want. Just to, you can modify the way you want to put it. Go back to the watches, and you see the 11 results and the watches is available. So one more thing is needed, which will be accessories, and here also I'm gonna pass that parameter, the page.tsx, and paste it here, and it will be get accessories, get the accessories you want, and accessories. Let's click on the accessories, and you see the accessories is available. And by the way, again, I'm telling you, this is fully responsive to create the designing parameter, and it's working just fine. So now you can go back to the Amazon Pro, and as you see, it's working very smooth. So now what we need to do, as you see, we can actually create the two pages, which is one of the card. Oops, actually where we are, okay, sorry, we are viewing the different page here. Okay, this is the page, this is our local page, so it's not created. So it's taking us to the wish list, but wish list is not happening, but the parameter is taking us to the, remember, it's gonna take us to the parameter of that ID. So that's the actually wrong thing is happening here. Even it's not it ready, but we are taking with that another prompt of the page. So better we create that page. So first one, it should be that card, and inside that card I'm gonna create that page, which gonna be page.tsx RAFCE. Oops, it will be CE, and that gonna be our card page. And also we will create another page, wish list, and inside here we're gonna render that page.tsx. Okay, and that one will be our wish list page. And remember, okay, give me a time to close all the other things or all. So I will open our Navbar, And inside that Navbar, remember, we create the href, so it will take us to the wish list. And okay, one it will be take us wish list, another it will take us to the cart. Okay, so now if we click, we will be able to go in the wish list page. If we click, we will be able to go to the cart page. So now let's go inside the cart page, because we will make that title here. So let's go to implement the title, how we are actually gonna create that. So that's our cart. So in here, what's actually I love to do, instead of the div, I will just render it with that container. Okay, with the container. Now inside that container, I will also generate another file in the components, which gonna be title.tsx rfce. We're gonna generate title here. Now this title gonna take two parameter. One, it will be the title, another it will be the class name. So in the type, I'm gonna just type it as a props, and it will be the title gonna be a string. Okay, class name, if it's available, it also will be string. So now we're gonna pass it here as the props. So in the title, it's gonna be always h2 tag, and inside that h2 tag, I'm gonna pass that our title. Now in h2 tag, let's render the class name. Remember, we use that cn formula. So now what I'm gonna do, the text gonna be 3 axle, and the font it gonna be a semi-bold, and padding bottom it gonna be a 5, and border B it gonna be 1 pixel, and border B gonna be zinc of 400. Okay, and after implementing that class name, it also gonna take the class name which we are going to implement. So let's come here, let's save it. It's gonna come in the middle because we are using that container. So now what I am gonna do, I'm gonna just implement that title. Okay, and in the title, what's actually we gonna make that title your cart. Okay, as you see, your cart. So the similar thing we are going to implement also in the, I believe, in the wish list. Okay, so it will be in the wish list, and need to import the container, need to import also the title. Okay, so both are imported. If we go to the wish list, the similar thing, because we need to define the name your wish list. Okay, so now we have cart, we have wish list. So okay, it's something wrong. Application error, client side exception has occurred. Okay, I think it's not our problem, it's just having with the internet issue. So let's go back to the home. So we have the product. So now what we need to do, we will create the login. And now remember, anybody can go to the cart, but we need to stop it to go, right? So we're gonna implement that portion with that. Now how actually we can do it? To implement that, we will go with that our next auth. We're gonna use that next auth.js to create that implementation. And also we will do one more thing, we're gonna use that middleware to stop all the unnecessary access without the login portion. So we're gonna implement it right now. And again, we need to first install that. So let's go to get started, and feel free to read the documentation here properly. So everything is gonna be here, whatever I'm gonna implement there. Okay, so let's go to my file, and in here I'm gonna implement that pmp add next auth. So let's close all other files, because now we will start working with the API. So what I'm gonna do, let's close everything. Okay, now in the source, in the app, I will create another folder which gonna name as API, and with that API we're gonna use that functionality, and inside that API we're gonna take a folder named auth, and inside that folder we're gonna create a very tricky folder which gonna come with the third bracket, and then is paired notation, and then it's gonna be next auth, and then it's gonna finish. And over here in this file, in this folder, I'm gonna take a file, because by default with the Next.js, all the route file, like all the API file name, it will be route.ts. So it will be that route.ts file for me on that. So now first thing first, we need to import that next auth. So next auth from the next auth. And after importing, we also need to import the provider. So first we have the next auth. So now what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna write that auth options. So auth options, and it will be an object, and inside that auth options we will have the providers. So it can be multiple providers, so I'm gonna pass it as an array. So now first one, I'm gonna make that as GitHub provider. Okay, I believe we need to import it from the next auth. So import, it will be GitHub provider, and from next auth, and then it's gonna go with that providers, and then it will go to the GitHub. So it will be that GitHub, I think GitHub provider, yeah. So it will be the GitHub provider. Inside that GitHub provider, I need to pass some object which going to be happen to get the client ID and the client secret and others parameter. And remember, we cannot, it's not a good practice to directly inject all the params and parameters here. So in that purpose, in the root layer of our applications, we will create another file which gonna be .env. So that will be our environment variable file. We're gonna keep all the environment related things here. So first, what it gonna be here, it's gonna be here our next auth URL. So URL, and then we're gonna put that next auth, it's gonna be secrets, and also so many thing, it's gonna be GitHub ID, and then we're gonna pass that GitHub secrets. So this too, because I'm gonna show you how you can implement that GitHub things. So other portion I will not show you right now. And what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna implement all other parameter. So like the Google ID and other portion, I'm gonna just keep it here, because I'm gonna show how you can actually open a GitHub app, create a GitHub app, then go to create the logging instances. So this gonna be there for the demo purposes. So the similar things for MongoDB URI, I believe it's not required here, or I'm gonna keep it because later I'm gonna connect with the MongoDB here, or just keep it Stripe, keep it for the Stripe project. Okay, now what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna close that file, or beforehand, let's just go and put that URL, which gonna be our localhost 3000 as the next auth URL. So in the GitHub provider, what we need to pass, we need to pass two things. One, it will be the client ID. So it will be that client ID, and that client ID should be from there. Oops, it will be a process.env, and that it will be that GitHub ID, which we already made it there. And also for that client secret, it's gonna be process.env, and it will be GitHub, it will be secrets. Okay, so now you see the TypeScript giving as error. You can either pass it as a string, the error it will be removed, or you just put that exclamation notation that it will be available. That's it. These two things is required. Okay, so now what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna implement, or I'm gonna import all the providers. Again, I'm saying that depends on you, whatever the provider you want to prefer. It's almost similar. You just need to create the app, need to have that ID and other things, and it's gonna work. So now I have that next auth options with wrapping with all the providers. So what I'm gonna make, I'm gonna pass the name, I'm gonna declare the handler, and that handler it gonna come from that next auth, and inside that next auth I'm gonna pass that auth option as the handler. And now I need to export that to implement in all the files to appear it here. So handler as it can be a get function, or handler as post, it can be a post function also. So these two things is just working fine. So now let's go to our GitHub to open an account or open an application here. So if you doesn't have a GitHub account, if you have a Google account, you can just simply create with that. So in here you need to go to the settings. So inside the settings, actually everything gonna rounding up. As you see, the developer settings is available here. In the developer setting, you can see a button is called Auth apps. Here you can create the new Auth apps. So I will create that as Next Amazon YT. Okay, Next Amazon YT, and the home URL, remember our URL, that's the URL we wanna pass. Whenever we're gonna deploy, you need to change that URL also. And the callback URL should be API auth callback GitHub. So let's register our application, and of course it will maybe okay, it's registered already. So that's the ID we need to copy. So let's copy that ID, and in the env file I am gonna pass that ID here, and also I need to create the secret, and of course it will ask the permission. So you need to give that password. Okay, so after giving the password, your secret will be revealed. Now you can copy that. Okay, so now you can pass the secret here. So both secret is okay. So let's close it. So now our application will be able to access the GitHub to create the paging or like create the other things. So now first thing first, we need to create the login, and how actually we can create the login. Remember, we having that login proportion in the Navbar, right? Let's go back to the Navbar, and in the documentation we need to get one more thing, which actually calling that, let's search something which will be next auth secret. Remember, and to create that secret, either you can go to they have a page where actually it's gonna be created, or you can run that 32-bit of that OpenSSL code to generate it. So I'll run that code. I'll just put that in my terminal, and it's gonna give me a random number which is entitled to have my next auth secret. That's it. Now I have the secret. You need to put the secret, otherwise you logging it will not work in actual parameter. So now it's already in the client side, so I will be able to access that and get the sign in and sign out proportion. So now to implement that first one, let's import, and I need to import that sign in. Okay, so it will be sign in and auth from the React. And what I'm gonna do in the button, I'm gonna create an on-click event, and that on-click event gonna make me to make the sign in actually. So let's declare the function, and it will be sign in. That's it. So I declared it already. So if we go back here and hit the login, it will take me to the login page. Is everything we did it right and properly? You see, we are in the login page. If we try with the GitHub, and of course it will ask the permission, I need to authorize it. So after authorization, you see, try to sign in a different account. So our GitHub configuration, it's actually not properly configured. So let's go to auth setting. Did you say, oh, we didn't update it? Okay, that was the problem. We take back the things, but we didn't update the setup. So let's try in right now. So I think that was the problem with that again. So the callback is actually not working. So let's go to the auth application. So that is our client ID, remember? So is this our client ID? Let's go .env. Okay. So that's the GitHub client ID. That's the same client ID, and GitHub secret is last is B9. I think the secret we made a mistake here. So that's the secret should be here. That's the GitHub secret, because it's the BE9 is the secret last one. So that's the OpenSSL code which we generate. This one, it's gonna be on the top, not here. Okay, so now we try again. I think it's better to keep a hot reload. It's a very misformulation what it did. So now let's try to sign in with the GitHub, and I believe this time it's gonna authorize, and you see we are on the topic, everything is fine, good to go. So first we have the session, but we don't know what is the session, right? And to see the session, we actually need to create a we need to create a constant variable, and you can call it is data, which gonna be mentioned as a session, and this parameter gonna come from that use session from the Next.js React. So now we have the use session. If we make a log, and to see the session, just make a console log, and as is the client side, of course the data it gonna render. Okay, it's not a client side. What's wrong with that? Use session from next auth, what actually is saying must be wrapped in a session provider. Remember, we created that, but we didn't wrap it in the session provider. That's what we need to do. We need to go in one by one. So to wrap it that one, what's actually we can do, we need to create a layout, because whenever we are trying to wrap it, it's a client-side application, so we cannot inject it directly in our actual layout. So what I'm gonna do in the component, I need to create a file called layout. So in the layout, I'm gonna get that provider from there. So let's import, and it will be that session provider from Next.js React. And now also remember, don't forget to make it as a use client, because this is the Next.js is not in the server side proportion, so you need to use that. So now inside here, instead of div, I will make that wrap with that session provider, not the session. I believe it will be in that session provider. Okay, so now inside here, what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna pass everything as a children. So in the props here, I'm gonna get that children, and also in the interface, or no need to pass an interface. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna just wrap it in the similar line, children, and it's gonna be react note. That's it. So our session provider is ready to go. So in the layout, what I'm gonna do, this entire things, I'm gonna pass that with layout. And don't worry, it will not okay, I need to import it also. It's not imported. Okay, that's imported from layout components. And what's actually is showing, okay, that's something misformulation is happening. Okay, let's just debug it. We are in the layout file. So okay, that's the layout. So the navbar, footer, okay, it should be, because we passed the body in a way. So just be careful, because these three things put together, and this layout should be outside of like inside the body, because if you keep in the top of the body, you're gonna have lots of error, and your routing params, it will not work. So now if we just make that console and everything is going to okay, the similar console, you see we are having a user, and the similar user we are showing it here. So now as we have the user, we can go back to the Navbar. Remember, we can wrap that one with a condition. Like whenever we have the user, we can show that the profile link page to go there. So now what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna cut it, and here I'm gonna pass the condition. If that session is available, it's gonna be something, not available, gonna be something. So if session is available, it's gonna be a link, and it's not going to be an on click, it's gonna be an href, and it's gonna be with that profile, and it will be also written here as profile. Okay, let's see if we can see the profile or not. Okay, our profile is available, so let's create a profile page here. So in the app, take another okay, oops, it's not here, it will be in the apps. Take another folder called profile, and it will be the similar, we're gonna just create a page here. So page.tsx rafce, which gonna be our profile page. So it will be profile page. So now if we click here, let's see, yeah, we are now inside our profile page. So that's cool. So now what's actually we want in the profile page to be seen, we can give it here. Now we want to pass our profile info here. So first thing first, I will wrap it inside the container. Okay, and also that gonna be here, container. Looks cool. Now let's give a p tag profile. It will be information. Okay, now inside the profile information, I will just try to elaborate it. So it will be class name and text gonna be Excel, font it gonna be semi bold, and padding B it gonna be 10, underline and underline offset gonna be 4, and the decoration it gonna be 1 pixel. Okay, so now we're gonna pass that profile information. Remember, if we want to get the profile info, we need to make it as a use client, but we don't want to create that use client for the page. So what I'm gonna do in the component, not a folder, I'm gonna create a file which gonna give us that profile info.tsx RAFCE. So now here we're gonna render that our profile info. So in the bottom, I'm gonna just get that profile info here. So now inside that profile info, what actually we are going to render, right? So what's actually we are going to render is, we're gonna guess that const, it's gonna be data, and it's gonna be from the session, remember, and we will make that use session here. And of course you're gonna get a solid error, because what we need to do, we need to make it use client. Now as it a component, it's okay to make it use client. So now inside here, I'm gonna take another div, and here I'm gonna take an image, and that image gonna come from the next image, and the source it gonna be a session if there is a session, and then if there is a user, if there is a session dot user dot image. Okay, so in the alt tag it will be user image. Image, and of course same with height need to provide, so it will be also height of 500. Okay, let's try, let's see. Now here you see the profile image is available. So what I'm gonna do, give some class name here. So the width it gonna be 20, height also gonna be 20, and object cover, okay, and rounded full. So my image is here, and remember you should have an error in your application, because you need to configure that avatars from the githubcontent.com. If you're using the Google, you need to configure that Google, this all a domains configuration. If you just configure it, it will be fine. Now you see, if I give that one, is it okay? Yeah, it's okay. Or you can just make that as a string. Now why we need to mention it, it just need to have the clarification that we know the image it will be there. That's it, nothing else. So we have the image, and after the image, what I'm gonna do, take another div and h2 tag. What it gonna make is that session dot user dot, it gonna give the name. Okay, so and also the similar way I'm gonna deploy the email also here, email. And now what I want in that top layer, so this layer, class name flex item center, and the gap it will be 4, just to show the information here. Now you may feel free to do whatever you want or you may like. So now I also keep a logout button here, so which gonna say sign out. Okay, so this will help me to create the sign out instances. So the class name it will be the bj zinc, okay, zinc of 950, okay, and the text zinc of 200, okay, and after that, and padding in x-axis gonna be 8, padding in y it will be 3, and font I will make it as semi bold. Okay, looks cool. Font semi bold, and empty, margin top gonna be 10, and whenever I'm gonna hover bg it will be design color. Okay, and also after making the design color, hover the text gonna be black, and duration gonna be 200. So as you see, okay, and we can do so many other things. Just make it a rounded SM, just put a little bit rounding. So when we click, we will create that effect of like the sign out effect. And how we can actually do it, remember, similar way, if we just make that sign out, need to import, don't forget to import, otherwise it's not gonna work. So now you see, so if we just click on the sign out, that's gonna be sign out. So this actually in the same page, right? It's not redirecting me to anywhere. And also now I'm not logged in, but now if I go back to my profile, I can see my profile. It's not actually a good idea if you are not logged in to see that instances, right? And how actually we can stop that to happen. Now either we can use that one, which actually we're gonna use later on after that instances, what is called that middleware. But instead not using the middleware, also we can actually implement that, which to make that from that get server session from Next.auth. So let's try that. So I am gonna just close it, all other things, the layout, okay, and env not require, route also closed. So now what I am actually going to do here, I'm gonna get that session, okay. Now this time not from that use session, right? So the similar session, and for that I need to make a wait, because I'm gonna get a server session. So server, whenever I'm gonna connect with server, I need to await. So get server session, and that I need to get from that user, like get server session. So like if I make that log and make the session, let's see if I am having a session or not. No, the session is null. So let's just go with create a login to implement that if we are having a session or not, what's actually we are getting in the instances. So we logged in, you see we are getting that session here. So also the same thing we're getting, but this time in the server. So now we can actually create some instances. So if there is no session, so means there is no session, or we can make another instances, no session dot user, okay. Then what it gonna do, it gonna redirect, and this redirect gonna come from next navigation. And where it gonna redirect, it always gonna redirect us to back to home. So now this time if we try to log out or sign out, as you see sign out, and it's directly giving us to the home page. So now if we just make it in the profile, you see you cannot visit the profile anymore. No, never, cannot. It will not let you go inside that profile page. So that's the actual like implementation, how it can be really fruitful. So let's log in again. Now we can go back to the profile. If we sign out again, we will not be able to see the profile. So try again to see profile. No, you never. Now also we need to stop to see anybody the cart or the wish list if they are not signed in. How actually we can implement that? And this one to implement is very simple using that middleware. So what you need to do in your, because our layout in the proportion layout is the source folder. So in the source, in the root of the source, I'm gonna take a file which name it will be the middleware.ts. Remember that name should be that in the similar. So here I'm gonna make export, and it gonna be default, and now it gonna from it will be Next.auth, and then it gonna come from that middleware, Next.auth middleware. So export and const, it gonna just, I'm gonna just pass that config. That's it. That's nothing I need to do. And I need to give a, oops, it will be a matcher. I need to pass a matcher here, and the matcher it will be array of content. So I'm saying it, the matcher it will be cart, right? So let's go back to there. So if I'm not logged in, is it taking me where? It's not giving me to have a single blink on the card. The similar pattern I will make it to create as the wish list. Okay, so now if I try to visit the wish list, it will always redirect me to create the logging instances. If I logged in, only then I will be able to see the wish list, see the card, see the profile, any things I want. But if I sign out, I will not be see that pages which I actually making redirected. Okay, so now I have the phone cases, so all the design parameter is done. So two things is now pending, is to create the Redux toolkit, to implement the Redux and create the store, and then need to create the payment. And after creating the payment, we need to store that payment authentication and then order list to in our database. So these two things we will implement in our next session of the video. So I hope this can be really helpful if you can implement all the design parameter, because in our next video we're gonna implement all the functionality to create a successful checkout and create a successful store. Okay, hope it's gonna help you to create a design parameter. We'll see you in the next video.